Welcome everybody to the Windy City. We're here at the Chicagoland Speedway tonight, joining us in the SimPossible Race League B-Car Series. And as you can see on your screen, it is well and truly dark in this track. A very first on iRacing. Of course, this track getting lights in the most recent update, so we will have a fully night-lit race tonight. It's pretty exciting. But just finishing up practice here, about 2 minutes left before these drivers go qualifying, and at the top of the board right now is AJ Digby with a 29.999, just under the 30-second bracket, which seems to be the benchmark for speed tonight. But he's the only driver in the 29-second bracket. But I'm Cameron Rich, and here in the booth with Carlos Costa, manning those cameras as always. Really excited to bring tonight's race for you guys tonight. And the Chicagoland Speedway is a track where I think really it is the epitome of a track that has aged nicely. Of course, this track opened in 2001 and has aged very well over time due to the Chicago winters and quite hot summers and all that stuff. So over time, it's become a very bumpy, very low grip track. So with the nighttime conditions, that won't be too much of an issue. But it still is a very racy racetrack. We'll see these drivers run all over the track surface, running up next to that wall, and of course right next to the bottom. That's probably where we'll see these guys qualify tonight. But you can see your practice times right there. About a minute left. AJ Digby at the top of the board. He has a couple wins on the series so far. I believe he has won. Just looking at the stats right now, he's won one time at Talladega, so definitely going to want to get another win on the series. Quickly before we go qualifying, let's go for the point standings real quick. Kyle Zimmer is your points leader. He is third in the practice charts right now in that 25 machine, the 30.062, and right behind him is Christopher Burge, who actually took home the win last Monday in the K&N series at Rockingham. Pretty crazy race that one was. So he's second in the board in the practice, or excuse me, in the point standings by 19 points behind Kyle Zimmer. Tanner Sharp, second on the board, is third in the standings. He missed a race at Charlotte, so really going to want to get those points back as much as he can. And he's been on a roll lately. He's won the last 3 races in the B-Car race at Pocono, Michigan, and Iowa. So we'll see if he can make it 4 tonight. I know he's very good at this racetrack, and I believe this is a somewhat hometown event for him. So definitely going to want to come out and do well for that reason. Fourth in points, Alan Cape. Tim Masters in 5th. I don't believe he's here yet. Tim Masters not on the practice charts right now, so if he does not show up, that will be a shame for his point standings. Nate Catella in 6th. Billy Wise in 7th. Tom Johnson 8th. Brian Lowhead tied with Tom in 8th as well, and Fernando Matos around the top 10. But as you can see on the left side of your screen, we are qualifying now, so I think we're going to see some of these drivers go out. One driver we know will not go out and make a qualifying run is that number 66 of Brian Lowhead. He's the perennial caboose, always wants to start last, as it's just more fun to come to the field like that, and I tend to agree with him because it is quite fun to do that. But there's Christopher Burge on your screen right now in that 98 machine. Very good looking car, that is. Those 2 Looney's Racing Toyotas are both in the field tonight. Dave Wilson on the track as well. You can't see him right now because of the way iRacing is qualifying, but he is out there. We'll go on board with him for just a minute, see if he can put down a pretty good lap time. We're on the gyro cam in this Toyota Camry race car. You can see the banking on this track, and it's very bumpy through turns 3 and 4 especially. The bottom of the track has a lot of bumps near that yellow line, or white line I believe, and really you want to stay out of those because that will upset the car. But swing it out wide into turn 1, try to get as much grip as you can, swing down to the white line, try to apex that corner. It looks like he missed the apex quite a bit, so that's not going to be a very good lap time for Chris, I don't believe. We'll see what he does down here in the turns 3 and 4 end of the speedway. Looks like a lot better entry right there. He got it down to the bottom a lot better, and we'll see what kind of a lap time he's able to put up. I'm also watching his teammate on the board right now. Dave Wilson has a lot of wins on the series so far. So yeah, Dave Wilson puts down a 30.0, Christopher Burge a 30.497. And I think that's just a product of missing that apex in turn 1 for Chris. So not going to be a very good qualifying run for him. But either way, it's not about where you start the race, it's about where you finish. And definitely Christopher Burge is one of the best at somehow making his way to the front of the pack by the end of these races. There's Billy Wise on the track right now. He was, I believe, about 10th in practice or so. So probably not too happy with that run in practice he had, but Billy Wise, really another driver who somehow manages to make his way to the end of the race. Looks like he scraped the wall on the tri-oval, and I think that's going to disqualify both of his laps, so that's not what he's going to be looking for. Definitely going to be starting near the back of the pack in this race tonight. There's Kyle Zimmer, that orange Home Depot looking machine, actually sponsored by Home Depot this week, so I believe he's got a new car each and every week, so it's kind of hard to keep up with Kyle and what kind of car he's running, but goes right up to the top of the board with the 29.974, the fastest lap of the weekend run so far by anyone. I think he is going to be happy with that one. That's probably going to stand up for about first or second starting position, depending on if anyone else is able to pick up from practice. Fernando Matos right there, running right up next to that wall. I believe he might be going through turns 3 and 4 right now to get as much momentum in that car, build up the speed as much as he can before the start-finish line. You see it's right there, and unlike Daytona and Talladega where that yellow line is out of bounds, you can run wherever you want on this racetrack. See if you can cut that car down to the white line. Gets pretty close right there. Actually looks like a good apex for Fernando, so a good 1 and 2 to start off his qualifying run right down this backstretch, which if you can see, you're not seeing things, that is curved. It is not straight on the backstretch here. That's one of the defining characteristics of this speedway compared to its closest relative, Kansas Motor Speedway, and that does have a straight backstretch, but this does not have a very straight part on it. So let's see what kind of a lap time Fernando is able to put up. 30.714, so actually the slowest of the qualifiers right now. A little bit surprised about that, but either way, Fernando will not stay there very long. There's AJ Digby, who was fastest in practice, the only driver under the 29 or under the 30-second mark. We'll see if he can replicate that in qualifying and maybe put up a 29.8. I believe that would be possible with an absolute perfect lap. He's right there down there next to that white line. There's some bumps down there. You don't want to get the car unsettled over those bumps. It looks like he handled it pretty well. Coming down that curve back straight, swing it out into turn 3. Technically, you want to back it off into turn 3 quite early, get on the gas early as well. Turn 3 is a very early apex corner. Swing it right up down to that apron. See what kind of lap time he's able to put down. Goes P number 2 with a 30.034. So not able to replicate his lap time from practice, but either way, a very good lap time for him. He's going to be starting right up next, or excuse me, right up at the front of the field, which is very good regardless. So about 10 seconds left in qualifying, so I don't really see anyone else on track besides AJ, so I think it is pretty much set, and I think we can give the pole award to Kyle Zimmer. Indeed we can. So that concludes qualifying. Kyle Zimmer is your pole sitter. That number 25 machine, the only driver in qualifying, to eclipse that 30-second mark for the lap time, running a 29.974. So very fast lap time for Kyle, and Kyle has a couple wins on this year, so he's definitely going to want to get another one. But we'll go through your grid real quick. Right there at the bottom of your screen on the left, Kyle Zimmer. He's your pole sitter in the Chevy, and right to his outside going to be AJ Digby in the Ford. Starting in, Dave Wilson in that number 20 machine has a couple wins on the year already, and Tanner Sharp, the hottest driver on the circuit right now, going for 4 in a row. Mark Dingman, who we haven't seen in a little bit, he's going to be starting in 5th in that number 48 machine, and Nate Catilla starting in 6th. Christopher Burge, teammate Dave Wilson, going to be starting in 7th inside row 4, and to his outside, Brian Lowhead, as I said, he's the perennial caboose of the field, but decided to qualify for tonight, so he's not going to be starting near the back. Fernando Matos, the last of the qualifiers in E9, and we'll go through the field, or the rest of the field for you guys. Tom Johnson's going to be starting in 10th, Alan Capers 11th, Travis Zudema 12th, Billy Wise 13th, Matthew Lesniewski in 14th, and Johnny Berardi rounding out your 15-car grid for tonight. So 133 laps here at this 1.5 mile Chicagoland Speedway. It's going to be a fun one tonight. As I was saying, we're going to see these drivers run all over the racetrack. This is a very multi-groove racetrack, especially down in turn 1. You can really ride up next to that wall. There's a lot of grip if you can kind of hook that rear end right up next to that safety barrier, which is a really hard thing to do, but I think some of these drivers will be trying to do that tonight, and it's going to make for an interesting kind of play of the race as we go on. But one pace lap here, as this is not a short track. And we're going to be getting set to go green here in just a moment. Once we go through turns 3 and 4, that pace car is going to make that hard left turn onto pit road, and we'll be going green. But for all these drivers in the field, this is nearing the halfway point of this series, about 33 races, and we're on race number 14. So at this point in the season, if you're looking to go for a championship hunt, which I don't believe there's a chase in this series, this is a straight point. So if you're looking to go for the championship, you really need to get your ducks in a row and really start to make points up and start to get consistency under your belt. So all these drivers definitely think about that right now. And see that pace car making that hard left turn onto pit road. Green flag's got the flag in his hand, and it's out right now. Looks like a good start for most of the field. Both the front row drivers get a pretty good restart. Kyle Zimmer on the inside line, a bit of a better restart than AJ Digby. He has the advantage into turn number 1. About a car length and a half over anyone else right now. AJ Digby looking to get to the bottom of the racetrack. He's under fire from Dave Wilson, but I think Digby's going to have the momentum on the outside line down the backstretch. Yes, he is. 3 wide here at back of the pack. That's Brian Lowhead and Christopher Burge at it, and I believe Tom Johnson. Tom Johnson gets punted into the wall, but he's able to keep it going straight. But there's a significant amount of damage on that car right now in the rear end, so that car is not going to be driving well. That was a fantastic save for him. We'll see if we can get a replay here. You see they were 3 wide down the backstretch. He was at the top of that 3 wide right there, and it looks like that was Travis Zuma behind him. Might have just got into him a little bit, and I believe Matthew Wisniewski involved as well, so he's going to have a lot of front end damage on the machine, and definitely not going to be driving very well until we get a caution and get those cars fixed up and well again. They can tilt, and we're still green here at Chicagoland. Not much has changed in front. Zimmer is still your leader by about 0.3 of a second over AJ Digby. You see right here about single file through the first 4 cars. Dave Wilson under fire from, that's Mark Dingman in that good looking number 48 car. Dingman on the inside line, Wilson on the outside line. You see just how that outside line can get the momentum off the corner. Wilson's able to hold Dingman off, might be able to clear him in a turn number 1, and I believe he has. So yeah, Dingman, you see him getting down on that apron. It kind of upset the car a little bit, got a little bit sideways, so he had to get out of the throttle, and he's going to lose a bit of time on Wilson. So that's just a nature of this track. Very, very bumpy, especially down there near that line on the bottom of the racetrack. But here's Billy Wise and Fernando Matos going at it. That's for the 9th position on track. And Fernando Matos was your last qualifier, so might not be too comfortable with the track tonight. Maybe just trying to feel it out, maybe trying to find his line. Of course, that is something that these drivers do. You know, sometimes you just don't go out there and have a very good qualifying run, and you just need to kind of run laps and find your groove. But there's battle for 5th. Christopher Burge going for it on Mark Dingman, takes it pretty easily. I think Dingman's saying, you go for it, bud. I'm not going to fight it too hard. We have plenty of laps to go, so we're on board with him right now. You see for Burge on that very inside of the track on the apron. As we were saying in qualifying, this is not out of bounds. You can run wherever you want on this speedway, provided that you can actually get up on the track and not cause a wreck and you know, anything like that. But definitely down on that front stretch. As the night goes on, you're going to see those drivers kind of start using the apron more, because it is very short. You can cut a bit of time out of your lap times by using that, but race not really worth it to go down there. It can tend to upset the car just a little bit. Once you come back on the banking, that transition, not really what the car wants to feel, so it can be a little bit jarring, but usually something that these drivers deal with pretty well. It's not too incredibly hard, it's just something you have to be aware of. But these top 3 cars up here pretty close to each other, about 0.6 of a second separating all 3 of them. Tanner Sharp running in 3rd, Digby in 2nd, and of course Kyle Zimmer still your leader. Billy Wise and Travis Zuma going at it still. That's for the 10th position right now. So Billy Wise not going in the right direction, or excuse me, yeah, he was. He started in 13th. Both these drivers trying to gain up from where they started, well back in the pack. See Billy Wise on that outside line, Travis Zuma on that inside line. And back up here, a battle for 2nd. Looks like Digby got in the wall a little bit there on the curved part of the backstretch, which is a little bit surprising, but I don't think there's any damage to that car. But Tanner Sharp looking to take that second place from Digby, and I think he's going to have it at the line. Indeed, yes, he does by just a little bit. Nature of using that inside apron, that can be, that's really where you want to go if you want to make a pass, because that like we said, that's the shortest way around the track, and that's going to help you in passing someone. But still side by side here, Digby has not have it through turns 3 and 4. That inside line is the preferred groove through that corner by quite a bit. And indeed, yes, Tanner Sharp does clear Digby to move him up to the second place. Still going at it through turns 1 and 2. Very close between Digby and Sharp. Might have been some light contact there, but it wasn't. It was very close. You couldn't fit a piece of paper in between those two race cars. And but I'm surprised that Digby didn't suffer any aero push getting that close up behind the 3 of Tanner Sharp, but he was able to deal with it well, going by the lap car of Matthew Wisniewski right now in that 24. You see him on the left side of your screen right now, well off the pace because of being involved in that accident on the initial start, that front end damage. So he's going to be hurting for a bit until we get a caution, if we get a caution. These drivers have shown in the SimPossible Racing League that caution-free races are a thing that can happen, you know, more than every now and again. So so you can't really bank on cautions anymore in the SimPossible League, and that's a pretty good thing to see. Battle for 7th here on the racetrack. Dingman and Matos going at it. Matos takes it. Dingman falling back a little bit from his starting position of 5th, and looks like Fernando Matos starting to feel that car out, maybe get a little bit more comfortable with the way it's driving, and starting to make up some ground. Looks like we might have a battle for the lead heating up a little bit. Tanner Sharp has caught Kyle Zimmer, and you know, Sharp's not going to be hesitant on going around him. Sharp, a very aggressive driver himself, very well known throughout the league that he is probably one of the most aggressive ones out here. So he's going to be somebody who's going to want to take that lead as soon as he can and waste no time in doing so. But these 3 drivers have checked out from 4th place Dave Wilson by about 3 seconds on the track right now. Quite a large gap at this stage in the race, only 13 laps in, so quite surprising to see that, especially with Dave Wilson, somebody who usually is right up there at the front, battling for the lead and you know, checking out. So maybe he's just feeling his car out as well. Of course, Dave Wilson took an extended break earlier on this year for school purposes, so probably not too comfortable with everything. Ooh, somebody in the wall hard. That was actually Dave Wilson, who I was talking about, so might be a bit of a commentator's curse there. A bit of right side damage on that car, but I don't think it's going to hurt him too incredibly much. It's not destroyed. Actually, I see the right front fender on there. It is crinkled up a bit, so that is going to hurt him a little bit at this track where aerodynamics are key. Of course, you're running upwards of 195 here in the turn number 1, so aerodynamics is absolutely key at this racetrack, so he's going to want to get that fixed up as soon as he can, as soon as we get a caution, or if we have green flag pit stops as well. Battle for the lead still going at it. Kyle Zimmer and Tanner Sharp still following each other in lockstep motion. They've actually pulled away from AJ Digby by about 1.5 seconds. You see him right at the top of your screen. He's fallen off the lead battle quite a bit. I'm not sure if he's just kind of cooling his stuff, trying to save his tires for the long run or what. But he's definitely quite a bit ways back there behind these top 2 right now. But the whole field is pretty much spaced out right now at this stage in the race. 16 laps in for a 133 lap race. Ooh, somebody in the wall hard. Battle for the lead here. Tanner Sharp on the inside of Kyle Zimmer. He's got the inside line on the turns 3 and 4 end of the speedway, and indeed that's going to be a very good advantage for him, but not able to get the lead. Yes, he did lead that lap, but Kyle Zimmer not going away. Excuse me, no, he did not lead that lap, so Kyle Zimmer put on a hard charge on that outside line to try to keep Tanner from getting that lead. Of course, these 2 drivers are ex-teammates. You know, good friends. They definitely want to beat each other more than anyone else, and they're going to race as hard as they can for that spot. You see them still going at it. Kyle Zimmer not giving it up whatsoever, doing a good job on the outside line to try to do something, but I think Tanner's going to have the advantage here off turn number 4. You see him pull right down next to that grass. He's going to get that short track advantage. You see what it gave him right there, about half a car length on Kyle, so good little visual indication right there of what pulling down on the apron does So move Tanner Sharp up to the lead. He's doing a good job of trying to go for 4 in a row right now. Not really any other battles on the track. Excuse me, battle for 8th position. Going on between Mark Dingman and Brian Lowhead a bit further back. These two drivers going at it. Mark Dingman not going in the right direction, started in 5th. He's currently down to 8th. Brian Lowhead running about where he started, so probably not going to put too much pressure on Dingman. Might be just trying to feel his car out. Of course, that's something I've said a couple times. Battle for 12th here with Nate Catilla and Tom Johnson. Tom Johnson still driving around with that heavily damaged rear end. You can see it on your screen right now. The right rear of that car very crinkled up, not looking like anything it should. Dingman and Lowhead going at it once again. Lowhead's going to take that position pretty easily. Yes, he does. So move Dingman back to 9th. And Brian Lowhead back up to restart in the 8th position. Back up the front a little bit. Tanner Sharp has pulled away to about half a second, excuse me, over Kyle Zimmer, and he's consistently a little bit quicker than Kyle Zimmer each and every lap. You see the lap times at the bottom of your screen: 31.674 for Tanner Sharp and a 7.54 for Kyle Zimmer. So over a tenth of a second quicker than Kyle Zimmer. Tanner Sharp was the last lap. So definitely showing that he is the man in this series right now. He's the hottest driver out on the circuit, and he wants to go for 4 in a row. Absolutely going to try to do it in that special Shriners Hospitals for Children number 3 machine. And we're going to do a bit of a crank it up here. So I'm going to stop talking for a minute. We can just hear race cars together for a couple laps, so you can hear what these SV8 engines sound like. Well, you can see on your screen right there, Alan Capers already up to the 4th position, battling with Dave Wilson. He started in 11th, so an absolutely incredible drive for him to this point. Bit of right side damage on both of those machines, but you heard on the onboard when we showed it just a minute ago, Alan Capers was clutching that car, so he's saving a bit of fuel already, only 25 laps into the race, so this might become a fuel mileage race. Definitely an interesting thing to note. And Travis Zuma actually pitted as well. Travis Zuma has retired from the event, so definitely not the way we wanted for that to happen. A shame for that. Travis Zuma started in 12th, probably just not comfortable with the car, maybe had something to do in his real life. Of course, that always comes for the sim racing, but battle for 6 here with Fernando Matos and Chris Roberge. Matos has it, Roberge wants it, and Roberge goes to the inside of turn number 3, I think. Ooh, very close there. And Roberge going to get the good drive off on that bottom side. I think he's going to take the spot pretty easily using that inside line through the travel. You see what kind of an advantage it gave Chris Roberge, so that's going to be a point of note all night tonight, watching how these drivers utilize the apron on the front stretch to make passes. But I did a couple of laps in this session before the race, and I think the fuel run we have tonight is about 70 to 80 laps. So definitely, you know, it is definitely going to be a one-stop event if we go caution-free. But what lap these guys choose to pit on is going to be something of note, because really, you usually want to split the race in two, so that would put you at around 65 to 67. But I think some drivers might go ahead and short pit, probably lap 40 or so. You might see some drivers come in maybe further on the back so they can make it to the end of the race, and you'll see them gain some track position because of new tires. And you'll see the drivers up front, Tanner Sharp, Kyle Zimmer, AJ Digby actually Digby probably will be one of those short pit. He usually does that. But Tanner Sharp, Kyle Zimmer, you'll probably see them pit around lap 70 or so and try to make that second stint as short as possible. Ooh, big hit for the 48 of Dingman. He's in the grass on the backstretch. So that 48 is quite heavily damaged. You saw him hit that wall extremely hard. And that car is going to be hurt, and I think he's going to have to come to pit road and fix that up, because it's definitely not going to be driving straight. Hopped over the access road right there, so a bit of damage on the front end of that as well. But still riding around the racetrack on the apron, and ooh, in the wall again. So Mark Dingman not having a good time with that race car right now. That car is definitely not driving to his liking. He came up on the apron and the car just went straight, so he's slowing down on the backstretch. And caution. So our first caution light coming out on lap 31 for the 48 of Mark Dingman, getting in the wall multiple times, and he has towed to pit road and actually retired from the event. So that's two retirements on the event for tonight. Travis Zudma and now Mark Dingman. And while we have a moment to talk about it, we're looking at the number 3 of Tanner Sharp right now, the leader of the race, and he wanted to give a shout out for June being arthrogryposis awareness month. That's the condition he has, and this is a special race from at Chicago. This is for the Shriners Hospital. This is where he had all of his treatments done and everything. So definitely driving with a little bit more determination tonight, and you can definitely see it in the way that he was able to get up there and take the lead away and really pull away. So Tanner Sharp doing exactly what he needs to do to get that 4th win in a row. But you see all these drivers at the front of the field coming down on pit road, get 4 fresh tires and fuel. We've had 31 laps of green flag racing, and those tires are pretty well used, so you're going to want to come down and get those changed. See how he gets in his pit stall. Looks like pretty well. So everybody in the pit stall pretty well. Wilson overshot his pit box a little bit. So we'll see the race off pit road here. It looks like it might have been won by Kyle Zimmer, actually. No. Very close, but Tanner Sharp was able to nip Kyle just at the line. Rest of the field coming off. Couple cars staying out on the racetrack for the time being. Fernando Matos, one of them. Chris Verberge being another. Billy Wise staying out. Billy Wise is one of the only cars, I don't see much on Chris Verberge either, to not have right side damage. So both those drivers doing a pretty good job of keeping it out of the wall. A lot of the cars we saw under green kind of got into that outside wall and banged up the right side of the car. So we'll see if anyone decides to stay out. Fernando Matos, Billy Wise, it's all coming down pit road. Looks like Chris Verberge might be staying out still to get his lap led. And he is in the points battle, second place in points, so definitely all those points you can get are going to add up at the end of the season. And I do believe that Zimmer did win the race off pit road. He is in front of Tanner Sharp, so I might have not been deceiving me. So right at the back of your screen there, Alan Capers taking another cone's life. Well known for that. So I believe that's our first cone that has been destroyed in tonight's event, and we'll keep track of that as best as we can. But we'll let this caution play out, and we'll be right back, guys, in just a moment. So hang tight. All right, we're back here at the Chicagoland Speedway, getting ready to go back green once again, working our first caution of the night. Christopher Burge, your leader, he stayed out on the racetrack with 31 laps on his tires. Pace car is off, and we're green once again. So, as expected, Christopher Burge not off to a very good restart. He's going to be even worse off through turns 1 and 2 with everybody behind him on fresh tires. So we'll see how that plays out. All the drivers behind him have to know that and have to play around him accordingly. But it looks like a pretty good restart for everyone, taking that into account. So your leader right now, Kyle Zimmer, was able to get around Christopher Burge. Bit of a stack up down the backstretch, about 3 wide with Alan Capers, Nate Catilla, and AJ Digby. Everybody else going around the outside of Christopher Burge. And looks like everybody is able to get around him pretty cleanly. So he's fallen back like a rock, but that's not really unexpected with 31 laps on your tires versus 0 on everyone else's. But Kyle Zimmer able to get out to about 0.3 of a second lead right now over Dave Wilson, who we saw have some issues under green flag last time, but he's able to. Looks like he's been able to rebound quite nicely right now. Battle for third, Tanner Sharp and AJ Digby. Tanner Sharp was your leader at the time of caution, came out in second place, lost some ground because of getting stuck behind Christopher Burge for a little bit, but he's going to pull himself down to the apron of the racetrack, get that short line around and see if he can make the move on Digby into turn number 1. And I think he might, but Digby is a very tough competitor himself. He's not going to let that spot go easily, especially with Tanner Sharp. Those two have had history before. And side by side down the backstretch, Digby not letting it up easily, actually using that high line very well, in a very good run down the backstretch. And ooh, some contact almost into turn number 3. Digby got very close to the right side of Tanner Sharp's car, but not giving it up still yet. So both those drivers still going at it very hard, and yeah, I think that both of them probably a little bit frustrated that they can't clear each other. But good racing here for the third position. Through turns 1 and 2, Digby still on the outside line. He actually might clear Tanner Sharp down the backstretch, and indeed he will. So absolutely incredible driving for AJ Digby, making good use of that high side. We've talked about that a few times, how this track is multi-grooved, and definitely you can go up there and maintain your position and sometimes even make positions up. But Tanner Sharp knows he has a fast car. He was the leader before the caution came out, had a pretty significant lead over Kyle Zimmer, so he wants to get around the 14 of Digby because he wants to go up there and try to run down Zimmer at the front of the pack. So he's going to pull himself down on the inside again, once again into turn number 3, see if he can make the move through 3 and 4, but Digby is not going to give it up easily. He's already shown that once before. These two drivers going at it pretty hard off turn number 4. Digby's going to have the good run off that corner once again, but Tanner Sharp's going to use that inside line to his advantage to try to cut that track as shortly as possible. I think off turn number 2, Digby's going to clear Sharp once again, so he's doing a good job of defensively driving, but he needs to, if he's going to want to have a chance at catching those two in front of him, he's going to have to shake Tanner Sharp from his tail and get himself kind of situated. Battle for 6, Alan Capers and Billy Wise going at it. Looks like Alan Capers going to drive right around Billy Wise and take that position away. We saw Alan Capers actually drive up through the field under green from 11th place to, I believe, 4th under the first run. So that we know that 13 is very quickly. Gets on the apron a little bit. You saw that car get sideways, but it was able to gather it up once again and keep himself in front of the 32. So a good piece of driving right there. And Billy Wise saying, no, thank you. I'm going to want to come back on the bottom side and try to get it back from you, Alan. So through turns 3 and 4, Billy Wise on that inside line, Alan Capers on the outside line. We'll see who had the position at the line. I think it was Billy Wise by just a few 1,000ths of a second. So this track putting on very good side-by-side racing so far, 43 laps into the event. Crossover here. Alan Capers on the inside of Billy Wise, see if he can get the position back. And we know these two drivers go at it pretty hard with each other week in and week out. I think we're seeing that outside line kind of come into its own right now. It's able to hold off the inside line very well, very effective, and we might see some drivers start moving up there kind of on their own accord. Back up at the front, Digby has still kept his position on Tanner Sharp, and they've actually caught Dave Wilson by just a little bit. Dave Wilson has fallen off of Kyle Zimmer by about 0.7 of a second, and these two drivers, even while battling, Sharp and Digby, have been able to catch Dave Wilson and not let Kyle Zimmer get out too far of a lead. So that is very, some contact. Digby and Sharp made a little bit of contact into turn number 1, and I'm surprised that that did not send the 14 spinning out of control, but I think that's going to help Sharp try to get in front of Digby. Digby actually gets in the wall a little bit on the backstretch. You see the sparks flying from that, so give that third position to Tanner Sharp. He's finally got in front of Digby, but I think Digby's going to want to try to get it back because he might think that Tanner might have drove him a little bit rough there in turn number 1. We'll focus on this battle for third for the time being. And I think it's a 3-car battle for second right now because Dave Wilson has fallen off a little bit. He's actually fallen back to this third place battle that once was with Sharp and Digby. They're still going at it, but they're reeling in both the leader and Dave Wilson while battling. So very impressive that they've been able to do that. Looking at lap times real quick, it looks like Kyle Zimmer last lap ran at 31.278 to a 2.75 for Wilson, and Tanner Sharp was about 2 tenths quicker than him with a 0.92 and a 0.79 for AJ Digby. So these two cars in a third and fourth look to be a little bit quicker than the cars in first and second right now, which does play well for a pretty good battle later on down the road if they can keep their tires on the car, but that is a big if. And we don't know what Kyle Zimmer's doing. He might be just kind of backing up his pace to make sure he does just that. He's a very smart driver, very adaptable, and we've seen him do tricks like that before. So we'll have to see how that goes. But I think we might have a battle for second here on our hands with Dave Wilson and Tanner Sharp. These two drivers have had a history together as well. So Tanner Sharp pulling it right down to that inside line, trying to make that line as short as possible, and I think he's going to have the advantage here in turn number 1, but as we saw with Digby, Dave Wilson's not going to give it up easily. Ooh, pops the wall hard, so that's definitely going to make him lose that third and fourth spot, so move him back to fourth, and that car is not going to be driving very well right now. Just got a little bit too much gas, a little bit too early through turn number 2, and that right side is quite heavily damaged. The fender is very well crinkled, not looking like what it needs to be at all. Actually, these two drivers in second and third, Tanner Sharp and Digby, both have damage on their cars, and I'm pretty sure they both had it before the caution, so probably just trying to save those fast repairs for a later time down the road. The leader in the wall, Kyle Zimmer, popped the wall off of turn number 2. He's actually in the grass trying to save that car, but he's got it under control, but that's going to make him lose a lot of track position. He's actually fallen back down to the 5th position in about the span of 5 seconds, so not what he needed at all, and that car is very well damaged, so he's going to need to get a caution to get that thing fixed up, but that does give the lead back to Tanner Sharp, and Digby has not let him go at all. Digby is about a 10th of a second behind Tanner Sharp right now down the backstretch, and these two drivers have inherited the first and second positions from the mistake of Kyle Zimmer. Not one that we see too much out of Kyle. Kyle's not a driver that makes mistakes a lot, so very rare mistake for Kyle Zimmer. Battle for the lead, the hottest one on the track right now. These two drivers, Sharp and Digby, going at it pretty well, but I think now that Tanner Sharp has that clean air, he might have the chance to drive away from AJ Digby. Of course, clean air is a big advantage here, especially at a track like this where you're going so fast around the racetrack, and aero is so important. If I were AJ Digby, I might be trying to look for a different line to get around Tanner, but because I think running right down next to that inside line is not going to do him any favors, just running in the dirty air of Tanner Sharp. So actually popping the wall in the entry into turn number 1, you can see what kind of line he's trying to run there. But he's not let Tanner Sharp get away too incredibly far just yet, but kind of popping the wall like he did is not going to help him whatsoever. A battle for 8th, Billy Wise and Brian Lowhead going at it down the backstretch. Billy Wise has a bit of rear end damage on his car. Not exactly sure where that came from, but it seems to not be affecting the car too incredibly much. Not driving too terribly, but trying to cross over on Brian Lowhead out of turn number 4. Brian Lowhead on that outside line having a better run down the front stretch, so he's going to take that position pretty easily. But here comes Billy Wise once again on that inside line. And we're really seeing that outside line really come into its own as this race goes on and the track rubbers in. Quite cool to see that, actually. We're still going at it for the 8th position. This is now the hottest battle on the track right now. It's kind of cooled off up front. Tanner Sharp in front of Digby by about 7/10 of a second. So we'll watch this battle for the 6th position. Billy Wise and Brian Lowhead going at it. And I'm surprised that Billy Wise has not been able to climb up the field a bit higher than he has. He's usually running pretty solidly top 10, but Brian Lowhead gets in the wall a little bit. Billy Wise has to take evasive action down on that inside line, or on the apron of the racetrack, actually. I think he's going to take that position pretty easily from Brian. So both these drivers have a bit of damage on their cars. Actually, Brian Lowhead, look at that run he gets out of turn number 4. He just gassed it up on the outside line and drove around Billy Wise. So that damage on the rear end of Billy Wise's car might be hurting him more than I thought. Of course, with rear end damage, you tend to get a bit of drag on the car, so you tend to be slow in a straight line, and I think we're seeing that with Billy down the backstretch. He's being visibly gapped by the 66 and might have a little bit more damage that we can't see, but a lot of cars out here tonight having a bit of damage just from getting in the wall and such, so I think that's kind of the story of the night so far. But while we've kind of settled down for a little bit here, let's take a chance to go through the field, starting with our current leader, Tanner Sharp. Actually, let's not do that. We have a caution on the speedway right now. Not sure what happened, but I see the 25 of Kyle Zimmer slow, so I'm going to assume that something happened to him. And let's go ahead and check the replay to see what happened. Going through turns 1 and 2, and looks like he just got out of the groove, hit the wall again, and spun the car down the backstretch. Actually, never really spun it completely around, just did a half spin, but it was enough to bring the caution out. That's going to be our second caution of the evening on lap 57. See all the leaders looking to come down pit road, led by Tanner Sharp. A lot of these drivers up the front have a bit of damage on their cars. They probably want to go ahead and get those fixed up and definitely get 4 fresh tires on those cars and get them driving a little bit better than they were. And track temperature, let's look at the weather right now. It's 69 degrees outside, track temperature 70, so really it's not going to get any cooler than that throughout the night. So pretty much what these drivers have now as far as track conditions go is what they're going to have the rest of the night. Looks like a pretty clean pit entry for most of the front runners. Tanner Sharp away, and I think he's going to win the race pretty easily up pit road, beating AJ Digby. Followed by Dave Wilson, Alan Capers, and Nate Wilson. Alan Capers up quite a bit from where he started. Of course, he started in the 11th position, did not set a qualifying time, but like we said, did drive through the field up to about the 4th position in the first run of the race under green. So we know that 13 car is fast, and we know he likes to kill cones. So we'll have to watch him as this night goes on. Now let's go ahead and talk to our current leader right now, Tanner Sharp. Ask him how the track is doing, and just kind of get a word with him. Tanner Sharp, can Rich up in the booth? You got a copy?
Yes, sir.
All right, man. Well, you look like you're pretty fast tonight in that Shriners Hospital machine. Just kind of tell us how the track's feeling for you.
Pretty tight as the run goes on, but if you know when to hit the gas and you understand you have the long run car, you just got to be patient with it. And that's what kind of like how we were. We kind of bottlenecked when Chris stayed out there and we were behind AJ. AJ was battling with us really hard there, so we just decided to be patient about it and say, all right, we'll get him eventually. So that's what we did, and that's how we got the lead.
I know you're quite a big fan of this racetrack. I love Chicagoland myself. With the new update, of course, we have lights here now, so just kind of tell us how it feels differently than it does in the daytime. I would assume it's just tighter and grippier, right?
Tighter and grippier. That's probably the best way to sum it up, unless you're in the truck and you're racing in the sunset. That's where the loose conditions are. But yeah, it's a very cool thing here. Finally, that iRacing has lights for Chicagoland Speedway, and I think it's a very popular thing, in my opinion. So it's one of my favorite racetracks, like you said. So Shriners Hospital for Children Chevrolet / AMC Awareness is really fast tonight, and we got a good chance.
All right, man. Well, going for 4 in a row. You're definitely doing a good job out there right now, so good luck the rest of the race.
And 4, thank you.
All right, well, looks like he's out there doing his job, doing what he needs to do, and definitely knows what is up. So I think that number 3 car is the favorite for tonight. But he has a bunch of hungry drivers behind him as well. AJ Digby, Dave Wilson, Alan Capers, Nate Catilla. We saw him win earlier on in the year. Of course, Kyle Zimmer, pole sitter, having some issues himself, but wants to rebound from what happened. He's got that car all fixed up now, and definitely is going to want to come back through the field and kind of go back to where he started the race, and that's in first. So pace car lights are out. We're doubled up before the restart. And looks like nobody electing to stay out on old tires this time, so it's going to be a straight fight to the next caution or the next pit stop or the checkered flag, whatever you want to say. Working lap number 61 of tonight's event, so we're getting pretty close to halfway right now. That should happen in about 10 laps or so. Excuse me, that should happen in about 6 laps or so. I forgot how to do numbers. Numbers are hard up here in the booth, but either way, we're coming through turns 3 and 4 right now, getting set to go for another restart, some more green flag racing. And we haven't seen that outside line get too great of a restart yet in this race. We'll see if AJ Digby can do anything about that. Pace car is off. Field in the hands of Tanner Sharp. Green flag is being waved right now, and I believe, once again, yes, that inside line gets a very good jump on that outside line. Digby did not get going very well at all. He's actually going to be under fire from Dave Wilson and lose the spot through 1 and 2, I think. Of course, all these drivers flat out right now on those new tires. No lifting necessary, so Dave Wilson using that inside line to his advantage. Battle for the 5th position between Nate Catilla and Kyle Zimmer. Nate Catilla on that inside line, Kyle Zimmer on the outside line, trying to get as many positions as he can on this restart to try to get back up from the mistake he had earlier. He's actually the cause of the caution, but I think he's got the position on Catilla. Yes, he does on the outside line of 1 and 2. He's actually going to go for Alan Capers as well, but I don't think he's going to have one. No, he's not. So single file up here through the first 5 positions. A bit further on in the pack between Billy Wise and Fernando Matos. That's for 7th. I think Billy Wise is going to take it pretty easily. Matos got a little bit too high in turn 3, and Billy Wise is going to be able to drive around Matos and take that position pretty easily. Back up at the front a little bit. Battle for I believe that's the 4th position. Kyle Zimmer and Alan Capers going at it. Kyle Zimmer on the inside line, Capers on the outside line. We'll see if Capers can get that outside line run we've seen all night tonight, and yes, he does. He's not going to let Kyle Zimmer clear him that quickly, but I think Zimmer is just too strong right now. He's going to take the position into turn number 3 on the inside line and move him up to 4th. But as I say that, Alan Capers gets a pretty good run off turn number 4. He's not going to let Kyle Zimmer take that position very easily this time. He's going to pose a challenge to Zimmer, but I think Zimmer is running that outside line to where Zimmer can't really get on the gas like he would want to, and I think he might be better off just kind of falling in behind Kyle right now and trying to see what he's doing. But actually himself under fire from Nick Catilla, and Nick Catilla's actually going to take that pretty easily. So Alan Capers falling back a couple positions from where he started this restart, probably not too happy about that, but we have seen these runs be long between cautions, so I think if I were Alan Capers, I would just kind of try to cool my tires off and kind of fall in line, see what I can do. Maybe get somebody to do the dirty work for me and go through the pack and clear me a hole, which seems like to be what Nate Catilla is doing. A bit further back, 3 cars going at it for 6th base. Billy Wise, Chris Verberge, and Fernando Matos. Almost had some 3 wide there off turn number 4, but they thought better of it, and Fernando Matos is going to be the benefactor on that outside line. Billy Wise still has a bit of rear end damage on the car, electing not to come fix it under the last caution, and so he's going to be under fire from Chris Verberge on that outside line down the backstretch. Chris Verberge doing a very good job tonight. Off turn number 4, using that outside line to his advantage. Actually going to have a pretty good run on Matos, but not going to be able to do anything with it. And we'll see if he can do something through 1 and 2, but no, he comes down to the inside line of the racetrack and then trying to just run the preferred groove on this end of the speedway. Still have 3 cars going at it for the 4th position. Zimmer, Catilla, and Capers. Zimmer has it right now, and Catilla has been on a charge since the restart. He's gotten around Alan Capers and a couple other cars. She started back in about the 7th position, and he's currently running in 4th, or excuse me, in 5th. Off turn number 2, he's got a pretty good run on Kyle Zimmer. Kyle Zimmer got a little bit too high off the corner and lost a bit of momentum, but able to gather it up and stay in front of that 4 car. Back to the battle for the 7th position. Matos and Verberge still going at it. Matos on that outside line, Verberge on the inside line. I think Matos was able to keep position at the start-finish line, and we've seen these 2 drivers go at it quite a few times this race already. Billy Wise in there as well. We've seen him in a battle with both of these drivers. Probably not knowing which way to go on the racetrack if he wants to put that outside line or the inside line. Ooh, Matos in the wall quite a bit. Actually threw up a lot of sparks into the corner and had to get off the wall. Actually got a little bit of that wall glue, so he's going to lose both positions to Verberge and Wise off turn number 4. Battle for 4th still going at it with Zimmer, Catilla, and Capers. These 3 cars not able to get away from each other just yet. Looks like Catilla trying that outside line through turns 3 and 4, but I think he went up a little bit too late in the corner, lost a lot of momentum, and was almost under fire from Alan Capers. Capers pulled up right onto his rear bumper, and Catilla just electing to go down on the apron and say, no, I don't want any part of that. But Capers has the run off turn number 2 on Catilla on the inside line. We'll see if he can drive it in there and make something happen. Not yet. I think Catilla might have the run off turn number 4, but no, he had to get out of the gas, and he's going to give the position to Alan Capers. But Catilla actually turns him on the front stretch. Actually, no, they're still trying to save it, but my goodness. What a save for both of those cars. Catilla was actually going to pull his car onto the grass almost and try to get around Capers. Almost spun them both around, but both drivers did an incredible job of saving the car. Did not actually lose any positions in that ordeal. Or, yeah, actually they didn't. Catilla is now under fire from Chris Roberge because he lost so much time, and his tires are probably going to be a little bit destroyed after that, but seeing if he can gather the car up. The important thing is that car does not have any damage on it. Battle for second heating up a little bit. AJ Digby right there with Dave Wilson. These two drivers about a second behind Tanner Sharp. So Tanner Sharp once again kind of showing he's the favorite tonight. Really running lap times faster than anyone else on the track right now. And the incredible part about what Tanner Sharp is doing right now is that front end is a little bit banged up. He still hasn't elected to come fix it, so you'd have to wonder how fast he would be if that front end was completely clean. But either way, about a 1.4 second lead on the rest of the field right now, and he's just extending it each and every lap. But the battle for second heating up. AJ Digby pulling on the inside of Dave Wilson into turn number 3. We'll see if he can make the move work, and I think he might clear him pretty easily here. Looks like he drove it in there and might slide up in front of Wilson. No, Wilson gets up almost into the wall, trying to keep that position from getting into AJ Digby's hands. With Digby on that inside line using that apron, he's going to have the position at the line by just a few 1,000ths of a second. I think Digby might have the position here through turn number 1 and 2, but Dave Wilson not giving up very easily. Look at that run he's got down the backstretch. Able to pull about even with Digby into turn number 3, but Digby's going to let it off early, drive it into the corner, and get on that inside line where it's very bumpy down there, but also very grippy, and he's going to take a position pretty easily from Dave Wilson. So move Digby up to second place. We'll see if he can run down our leader, Tanner Sharp. The lead now up to about 1.418 seconds over Digby. Digby running exactly where he started in the race right now in second position. Dave Wilson running where he started as well in third. And behind these two drivers, about 1.4 seconds behind, is your pole sitter, Kyle Zimmer. Zimmer actually a little bit quicker than Digby and Wilson, so maybe if he can get a battle between these two drivers of the 14 and the 20, he can probably reel them in and maybe have a challenge for them, but the lap times are going back and forth each and every lap, so it's kind of inconsistent. But while things have cooled down for just a little bit, we're going to do what we were going to do before the last caution, and we're going to go through the field, starting with our current leader and leader at the time of the last caution, Tanner Sharp. Of course, Tanner started in the 4th position, running in first, about 1.6 seconds over AJ Digby. AJ Digby himself running in second, started there as well. Looks like he has the speed tonight to maybe contend with Tanner if he can get a jump on the restart or something, but doesn't look like he has the outright long run pace of that 3 car. Dave Wilson, another driver who we've seen very quick on the short run, but it just doesn't look like he has the long run speed to compete with Tanner as well, but he's running exactly where he started in 3rd. Kyle Zimmer, your pole sitter, currently running in 4th. Probably another driver who he might have the long run speed of that 3 car, at least comparable, but got himself in some trouble earlier, trying to rebound from that, doing a pretty good job of doing that. So he's been able to rebound from wrecking his car in the backstretch and get himself up into the top 5. Alan Capers, probably he is the biggest mover of tonight, started in 11th, running at 5th. just running solid lap times. Kind of an Alan Capers thing to do, just out there doing his thing, doing it very well, and not making any flashiness out there, not throwing glitter everywhere, but doing a very solid job right now. Nate Catilla, we saw him actually get into Alan Capers just a few laps ago, and lost him his battle with Alan, but doing a good job running where he started in the 6th position. Kind of just doing his thing as well, just running about 8 seconds behind the leader right now, and actually right behind him, a very hard charging Fernando Matos is coming up to battle with him. Fernando Matos started in 9th, running in 7th position, doing a very good job out there, kind of just running his own race. Looks like he might be battling for the 6th position in just a little bit, but don't count that 17 out. By the end of the race, he probably will be up there in the top 5 pretty solidly, and I think he's just running a typical Fernando Matos race right now. Chris Burge, the driver we've seen up very close to the front of the field throughout tonight, but currently back in the 8th position, started in 7th, so got himself in a little bit of trouble a few times, but either way, don't ever count that 98 out. Has a bit of damage on the right front, so probably needs to get that fixed up before he does anything, but like we said, Roberge somehow always finds a way to get up in the top 5, and that's why he's 2nd in points right now. Running in the 9th position, got Tom Johnson, that 56 Ford EcoBoost machine. It's kind of ran there all race, not really done anything spectacular, but not done anything too incredibly unspectacular either. Just kind of running right around where he started, 1 position higher in the 10th position. Billy Wise, a driver who we saw up near the top 5 earlier in this race, still hasn't fixed that rear end of the car, and really might be hurting that car. I would absolutely think it is, at least on the straightaway, with that extra drag. If the spoiler is sticking up a couple inches, it's definitely got to not be helping. So if I were him, I would go ahead and get that fixed up as soon as possible, and we might see Billy Wise able to claw his way through the field. Billy's a driver who, if everything goes right, he can definitely finish top 3. So just needs to get that car fixed up. Last car in the lead lap, Brian Lowhead in 11th place, started 8th, actually in a battle with Billy Wise right behind him. These two have been at it all race long, and Brian Lowhead taking the rare opportunity to qualify in tonight's event, and currently going for a top 10 position. We saw him we saw him near the top 5 earlier, just kind of lost his track position. So we have a battle for the 3rd position heating up, with Dave Wilson and Kyle Zimmer. We went through our field, all the lead lap cars up to 11th position, concluded by Brian Lowhead. But our battle for 3rd, Dave Wilson and Kyle Zimmer going at it. Zimmer on the inside line trying to get the position on Wilson, just cannot get the gas down with that 20 car on his outside. We have 1 driver on pit road, the 4 of Nate Killa. We'll have to see if he made it to the line in time. Yes, he did. I was looking at his speed. It looked like he was a little bit quick, but maybe a bit of pit strategy being played here with about 50 laps to go in the race or so. So we'll see if that makes anyone else elect to come down pit road, or if this is a goofy strategy being played by Catilla. But battle for 3rd still going at it pretty hard. Zimmer and Wilson on the front stretch. These 2 drivers do not want to give it up. Zimmer wants to get back what he had before, and Wilson does not want to give up what he has now. So off turn number 2, Wilson has that outside line. Look at the run he gets down the backstretch. He's actually going to gap Kyle Zimmer by about 3 car lengths. Absolutely good stuff to see, but you got to think that Kyle Zimmer might be a little bit frustrated because he knows he's a little bit quicker than Dave Wilson, knows he needs to be up there battling with probably AJ Digby and Tanner Sharp, but he can't get around the 20 car. But Dave Wilson doing exactly what he needs to do, and that's keep that 25 behind him at this stage in the race, working lap number 90, so we have about 43 laps to go in tonight's race so far. Very close through the turns 3 and 4 end of the speedway. Zimmer pulled up right on the back bumper of that 20 car, trying to get him aero loose, and unfortunately that's not really a thing anymore. Kind of missed the days back in NASCAR when that was a thing. It was always fun seeing somebody pull up right behind somebody and just get them all sideways, but what he did was just gas it up through 1 and 2, and Zimmer was able to get around Dave Wilson pretty easily right there. So move him up to 3rd position. We'll see if he can run down that 14 of Digby. He's about 3 seconds up the road, so it's going to be a tough task. But maybe with the number 4 pitting, we might see some pit strategy being put into play. And if I was Kyle Zimmer, I might be thinking about doing that. If we can't make it to the end of the race from here, you might want to just go ahead and pull on pit road, get some fresh tires, and do whatever you need to do. But as I say that, Dave Wilson's not letting that position go easily. He came back on Kyle Zimmer into turn number 1. He's going to pull down the backstretch on the low side and try to get it back from Kyle Zimmer. So these two drivers are absolutely not giving an inch to each other, and definitely some good stuff here at the moment. As I say that, Kyle Zimmer able to clear Dave Wilson once again, and pulls about 3 car lengths in front of him. Haven't seen anyone come down pit road yet, so I'm not sure if that was just a goofy strategy or if Nate Catilla knows something that we don't. I'm not sure what lap we went green to calculate fuel numbers, but I would assume that we probably can't make it to the end from the last time we stopped, but I'm not completely sure about that. The battle for third has kind of, something happened to, Kyle Zimmer actually got into the grass on the front stretch. We'll see if we can get a replay on that, because Dave Wilson is quite far down the road. Off of turn number 4, you saw him just hit the wall, and he went right down that front stretch grass and lost all of his momentum and all of his time. And I think yeah, let's see there on the replay, big hit to that wall for that number 25, so it's not going to help his chances whatsoever. He's going to want to come down pit road and get that fixed up, definitely. But one driver who is not suffering any type of fate whatsoever. Battle for ninth between Billy Wise and Brian Lowhead. These two drivers still going at it. Down the backstretch, Billy Wise on that inside line, Brian Lowhead on the outside. And Billy Wise took a bit of a goofy entry into turn 3. I think he might be pitting. Yes, he is, so that's why he took that line. So we've already seen Catilla pit and now Billy Wise, so maybe some I can't imagine we can make it to the end of the race. So I think all these drivers at the front are going to have to pit one more time. But the last time by, AJ Digby was about 0.2 quicker than Tanner Sharp, but that's kind of flip-flopped back and forth each and every lap. So I'm not sure if that was outright speed or if it's just kind of the pace on the tires going back and forth. But we'll see if Digby, he can keep that pace up and maybe run down the 3 and have a battle for the lead here. And the 20 of Dave Wilson on pit road now, so definitely the pit stops have absolutely begun. 25 of Zimmer on pit road as well. Actually, he's now leaving pit road, but definitely pit stops are well underway. We'll see if all these drivers can get in their pit box cleanly and get those tires on and get the fuel in. And should be a straight shot to the finish of this race. Lap 98, so about 36 laps to go. And really the draw 4 card in the Uno deck is Tanner Sharp. Whatever he decides to do, he's going to dictate the strategy of pretty much anyone else on the track. Because if he pits, absolutely everybody else needs to pit that lap and to try to have a shot at getting him. Because if they stay out, they probably are going to not get the caution they needed because of the way this race has played out. It's been a very green looking race so far, only 2 cautions up to this point. And as I say that, AJ Digby on pit road now. We'll see if, I think AJ Digby, now that he's pitted, I think that now AJ Digby has pitted. Tanner Sharp is going to want to think about pitting now, probably next lap. We might see that 3-car come down pit road because he doesn't want to lose too much time to that 14. He only had about a 2.5-second lead on Digby, which with the way these tires wear, that's probably about 2 or 3 laps of fresh tires on pace. So really, Tanner Sharp has to come down pit road before too long. And yes, Tanner Sharp is coming down pit road this lap, so definitely doing the right move right there, following that 14 in. And I think he was down to pit road speed by the line, so good to see that. We'll see if he can get his pit stall easily. Probably take that fast repair, get that bit of dinged up damage out of the way. One driver staying out for the time being is Alan Capers. Renato Matos hasn't pitted yet. Tom Johnson hasn't pitted yet. Chris Burge hasn't pitted yet. Those are the last 4 cars to not have pitted yet. So what those 4 drivers are doing is playing the long game now. They're trying to get a caution, because if they were to get a caution, they would have about a lap on most of the field, and that would play well into their strategy. But I don't think they're going to get it. But of course, I don't know that. They don't know that. It's a gamble that they're taking, and that's just kind of part of racing. You really don't know when you're going to get the caution, so that's why they call it a gamble. Tanner Sharp out on pit road now, and he pulls out right in front of AJ Digby. So you saw the difference in 1 lap of tires there. Digby goes from 2.5 seconds back to on the back bumper of Tanner Sharp, and this is the effective battle for the lead right now. These 2 drivers are absolutely nose to tail on the racetrack, and they're going to battle out for the next 30 laps. Digby looking on the inside of Tanner Sharp into turn number 3, and if Digby is wanting to win this race, he's probably going to need make that move as soon as possible. Get in front of that 3 car, try to get the clean air on the nose, and do whatever he can, because he knows when that 3 gets out in front just a little bit, he's probably going to drive away with the 1 lap fresher tires. They're still side by side with lap car Johnny Berardi in front of them. We'll see what direction he goes on the racetrack. It looks like he kind of stayed in the middle, and that's going to give the advantage to Tanner Sharp, I believe. Or maybe not, because Digby is on the inside line, but Tanner Sharp not letting it go. These 2 drivers still going at it very hard right now, and they should be. This is, like we said, this is the effective battle for the lead. Less than 30 laps to go, so really, once those 4 cars in front of them, now 3 cars in front of them pit, this will be the fight for the lead. But Tom Johnson has pitted. You see him on the inside line right now. Ooh, trouble. Digby almost got turned around by the 56 of Tom Johnson. He pulled down to take the line away from Tom, and Tom did not back out, and Digby almost got sideways, but did not really lose him too much time. But Tanner Sharp has cleared the 14 by a few car lengths, so Digby knows that if he wants to win this race, he's got to do something special now to beat that 3 car. But the top 3 in the race right now, Alan Capers, Fernando Matos, Chris Burge, all those drivers have yet to pit. So we do know before the end of the race, they're going to have to come down pit road and get at least a splash of gas to make it to the end. So, but you never know, like with the cautions, the way they've been falling, you might get a green run to the end, but you might not as well. So you also have to count for green light checkers now that those are a thing in iRacing, so definitely a bit more strategy play in there. But while we're at this point of the race, I'm going to give a shout out to all you guys in chat. I see Will Worsler, a driver in another series on 3 Wide TV, Jeff Schmidt in chat, Wesley Lee, the Alan Capers fan who comes in most every week, Your boy is leading right now. Got a 5.8 second lead over Fernando Matos, so that you're happy to see that. But thank you all very much for coming out to hang with us and watch this race. Very cool to see that. We love the chatters, and good to see some other drivers from other series that we broadcast as well come on. It's always cool to see. Really now it's just a waiting game for those 3 cars that haven't pitted yet to pit, and Tanner Sharp is actually running down Christopher Burge by a couple seconds per lap at number 98 on the old tires and Tanner on the newer tires. He's gonna probably run, and he's probably gonna catch and pass the 98 in about the next lap or two, just because of the pace difference. About 2 seconds on the racetrack right now. No real side-by-side battles right now to speak of. Looks like everything has settled out for the time being, coming to about 20 laps to go in just a couple laps. Looks like Tanner Sharp has extended his quote-unquote lead over AJ Digby by about 1.5 seconds, so really making use of that speed in that 3 car, and I don't think there's really anyone that can touch him today. But we do have plenty of time to go in the race. Christopher Burge down on pit road now. He pulled out right when Tanner Sharp got to him, so he probably realized that strategy was not going to work, and I think Matos... Oh! Christopher Burge actually spun it on pit road. He looped it on the pit entry, so that's not going to do him any favors, but it looks like he didn't hit anything. We'll see if that gives him an unsafe pit entry penalty, though. That sometimes happens in iRacing because it likes to rub salt in the wound. But either way, I think for Capers and Matos, their days are numbered for that strategy as well. I think we'll see both of those come on pit road in just a couple laps. I don't know when they're going to actually run out of fuel. I would have to imagine the next 10 laps or so, but I guess at this point there's really no harm in staying out as far as possible. We're actually going to do one more crank it up before the end of this race, and we'll be back with you guys in just a moment. Alright, everybody, welcome back. We saw Fernando Matos on the pit road as we did the crank it up, and so that leaves the only driver left on the track who has not stopped for his final pit stop is the 13 of Alan Capers. And I have to imagine he's probably going to be coming down pit road in the next couple laps or so. Probably 3 at the most, I would assume. But the effective battle for the lead is between Tanner Sharp and AJ Digby, and that's about a 2.5 second gap right there that Tanner Sharp has been able to pull out on Digby. But actually, notice on Alan Capers, if we can get on board with him, he's actually saving fuel. So we'll see how that plays for him. We know we've seen races be won by pit strategy before. A couple weeks ago, we saw Tom Johnson take the win in the trucks at Kansas, I believe, because he saved fuel. But I don't think that Alan Capers is running a pace fast enough that if he were to save that much, I don't think there's any way he can save enough fuel to keep the gap on Tanner Sharp, who's going to be running flat out until the end of the race. So actually the gap is only about the front straightaway right now. So maybe Alan Capers thinking that he can maybe not go for the win of the race. Actually gets into the side of Johnny Berardi, almost in the wall. So I think that's going to be the end of his lead right there. Tanner Sharp is coming in a hurry down the backstretch. Maybe Alan Capers thinking that maybe not playing the game for the win, might be playing the game for the pit road, because he's coming down the pit road right now. Very hot. We'll see if he can get down to pit speed. I don't think he was. He was about 70 at the line. That's going to be a penalty, no doubt about it. So I think worst has gone worse for Alan Capers. That's definitely going to be a pit road penalty because he was absolutely way too fast at the pit line. So that does cycle the lead back to Tanner Sharp, and the lead about 2.6 seconds over Digby, 8.3 back to Dave Wilson, and I think fourth place is going to be Kyle Zimmer, about 12.8 seconds back. So really, last 10 laps here are pretty much going to be about riding around, making those laps, and trying to survive for everyone, because this has been a pretty long race, pretty green race too, only 2 cautions I believe. Alan Capers holding for 15 seconds for that pit road penalty on entry. See that he kind of just sat there for an extended period of time. But it is going to move him back to the last on the lead lap, I believe. Might actually be a lap down. Actually, no, he's not. Off of the pit line right now. Tanner Sharp is going through 1 and 2, so with those fresh tires, he should be able to pull away from the 3 car and stay on the lead lap. Actually, no, he is 1 lap down. Almost 2 laps down. I forgot about the pit road penalty there for a second, so I was a little bit confused, but we know things up here in the booth. I don't know things. Absolutely. That moves Alan Capers from the lead back to the 11th position. Last car 1 lap down. So real quick, with about 10 laps to go, let's just kind of give you a quick rundown of the field. Tanner Sharp is your leader, AJ Digby 2nd, Dave Wilson in 3rd, Kyle Zimmer 4th, Nate Cotillo, the last car in the lead lap, in 5th, Fernando Matos 6th, Tom Johnson 7th, Brian Lowhead 8th, Billy Wise 9th, Christopher Burge 10th, and Alan Capers in 11th. Those all those cars are 1 lap down. Johnny Berardi 7 laps down in the 12th position. Last car running on the racetrack. Mark Dingman, Matthew Wisniewski, and Travis Zuba, of course, all retired from the event. Bit of a cluster of lap cars in front of Dave Wilson, except Billy Wise and Brian Lowhead battling for the 8th position, and they are under no order to get out of the way of Wilson, but probably he would like that they do so. Billy Wise got up in the wall anyway and kind of ceded that to Wilson. Of course, Lowhead and Wise seem like they've been together all race long and still have not been able to shake each other, still battling for that 8th position in the closing stages of this race. And now Wilson able to get around Brian Lowhead, so maybe that battle can continue. Brian Lowhead gets in the wall a little bit, so he's going to be pulled back to 32 of Billy Wise, maybe for one more final battle tonight before it ends. Tanner Sharp's lead up at the front, up to 5 seconds, 5.9 seconds actually. So he's absolutely flying. Probably going to might put a couple more laps or a couple more cars, one lap down before the night ends. It's going to be turns 3 and 4 right now. Nate Illa is just a couple seconds down the road on the front stretch right now, so might see 4 cars on the lead lap, but that remains to be seen. Only 4 laps to go, so I don't think that is a high chance of happening. But this battle for the 8th position heating up once again. We'll look at that. Billy Wise on the outside line, Brian Lowhead on the inside line, and yeah, like I said, the one final battle before it all ends. I think these two drivers probably tired of seeing each other. There's Christopher Burge. He actually is on fresher tires, and he drove around both of these, so he's going to move himself up to the 8th position and make that battle for 9th between Lowhead and Wise. We are in the green-white checker territory of the race, so if the caution were to come out, we would absolutely have a green-white checker, and I don't think Tanner Sharp would be saying nice words if that happened. He's got a 7.8 second lead on Digby. It doesn't look like there's too much that could possibly happen at this stage in the race. But Tanner Sharp coming through turns number 3 and 4 to begin his final lap here at the Chicagoland Speedway. And really all he has to do is make about 31 more seconds of clean racing. He's been absolutely perfect all night. Started in 4th, got himself up to the lead, and really hasn't been able to be touched since. Got an 8.6 second lead over AJ Digby right now, so get the kazoos ready for an absolute clinic. I think it's a bit ironic in a bad way that he's got Shriners Hospital for Children, because he absolutely showed everybody who's boss tonight. But out of turn number 4, Tanner Sharp's going to bring home the win here at Chicagoland Speedway. So cue the kazoos. I think they're already going off. But absolutely dominating performance for Tanner Sharp, and that is his 4th win in a row. So he's absolutely on a mission in the SimPossible Racing League B Car Series. And we'll definitely have to talk to him in just a moment, but we'll let everybody get their thoughts collected and get their head cooled off and get out of the cars a little bit. We'll talk to him in just a moment, so hang tight. right, everybody, welcome back to Chicagoland Speedway. Just concluded tonight's event. Tanner Sharp coming home with the win. We will definitely talk to him in just a moment. Before we get to him, though, let's go ahead and get our third place finisher, Dave Wilson, up here in the booth. All right, Dave Wilson, this is Cameron Rich. You got a copy?
Yes, sir.
All right, man. Well, third place start, third place finish for you tonight. So, pretty good run. I would say probably not what you wanted as far as Dave Wilson standards go. Looked like you just didn't have the outright pace to go up there and challenge that 3 car who looked like he was in a different dimension tonight.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't one of my better races that I've done. It was still somewhat enjoyable in the end, although I did hit the wall a lot, and it was probably one of my better friends this race, but I mean, overall, you can't go wrong with third place, especially on a track I don't really have too much practice on, so I was very grateful for this finish, and it's definitely some good driving there by AJ and Tanner.
Yeah, absolutely. I just want to know, how did the track feel tonight? Of course, this is the first race I've seen on the Chicagoland Speedway with the new night lights, so of course, I know how Chicago drives in the daytime, but how did it feel out there in the night? I would assume it's probably pretty grippy and tight, just like every other track at nighttime.
Yeah, it was definitely tight. I think most of that though was on my end anyway, from overdriving the corners a lot. But once I started to back off a little bit, it definitely became like really, really good, and it was a lot better than it was before whenever I was overdriving. And I was definitely gaining a bit more time, but every now and then I just kind of lose my momentum and just completely whip the corner again. So I was definitely doing my best that entire race, and it was still very tough track in general.
All right, man. Well, like you said, can't really complain with a third place finish. It's a good run nonetheless. Next week we go to a bit different style of racing. Have Daytona, so of course that's a word that gives me colts. But how are you feeling about that one?
You know, I mean, it's another race, and they're all always a great race. So I'm always looking forward to the next week, except for whatever it's Michigan or Chicagoland.
Well, since you said Chicagoland was one of those races, I'd say a third place is probably like a win to you. So I appreciate you talking with us as always. But before we let you go, we know you got some shout-outs you want to give, so let's hear them.
Yeah, I'd like to thank you guys at the booth for streaming these races and commentating them every week. We all of us drivers just enjoy going back to the race and seeing what happened throughout, and watching all the wrecks or green flag runs, just all the battles in general. So it was definitely fun on that, and it's always a great time after the race. So I'd also like to thank all the drivers in this race for making this possible and making the awesome racing that happens every single week. It's definitely a great time for me. I find it more competitive than official iRacing racing, but it's definitely a good experience with all these guys and all their different challenges on the track. And yeah, just in general, it's unbelievable what all these guys can do every week. I'd also like to thank Jeff Schmidt for making this entire league possible, and for starting it, and for helping it grow to as much as it has over the past year or so. And I can't wait to see what the future brings.
Awesome stuff, Dave. Well, once again, congrats on finishing third tonight, and I hope to talk to you again next week.
Thank you.
All right, that was your third place finisher, Dave Wilson. Now let's go find our second place finisher, Mr. Digby himself. Had him in the booth on Monday for a majority of the race, but we'll see if we can get him in here once again. All right, AJ, welcome back to the booth after Monday. Got a copy?
Yeah, I do.
All right, man. Well, solid run for you tonight, finishing second, starting in second. So really no gain or loss there, but just looked like you didn't have the outright pace of that 3 car on the super long run to compete with him. Just kind of tell us about your race.
Yeah, I had a really fast car, especially on the short runs. I felt like I was one of the faster ones. But it was in that like middle section, kind of the transition to the long run, when I felt like I completely would lose it. I would miss my marks, or I just lost my tires too much. I just wasn't fast enough to really get it done. And then once it transitioned to the long run, I felt like I was kind of even. Like I would lose a little bit, but nothing too bad. But it was really that middle section that really hurt me. So I was trying to play the tires game and split up as evenly as possible, and I was hoping some of the opposite would be done by other people, but everybody kind of took the same strategy and almost took 2 tires before that last stint, but it was definitely a good idea not to, because those left sides were a lot more worn out than I thought they were when I hit pit road. So I'm glad I took 4, but I didn't take enough fuel because I had the fuel prepared to take 2. And so I had to clutch it in both of the turns for the last like 8 laps to make up a whole lap and a half of fuel to be able to make it there to the end. And luckily I had built up enough of a lead over David that I had some room to be able to do that. But I ran out, we crossed the checkered flag and I ran out going into turn 1 right after that.
Just enough fuel to end the race. One thing I want to ask you, ask everyone else's first race at this racetrack under the lights. How does it feel differently than it does in the daytime?
Well, to be quite honest, this is my first race at Sheboygan, period, I believe. I don't know that for sure, but I believe so. So it was a learning curve in itself, just trying to learn this track, because it's so unlike a lot of the tracks that we've been to, with the fact that even the back straight, it's not really a straight, so you have a little bit more room to give off the corner, and just the way that everything flows and ebbs in this track, it was an interesting challenge, and I was lucky I was able to pick it up right away. It kind of reminded me of like a bigger Iowa, and I do like my shorter tracks, so I was able to pick this up right away and be pretty fast right away, and was lucky to come home P2 tonight.
Absolutely. I was talking to Dave about this, but a word that gives me cold sweats is Daytona, and we go there next week. How are you looking forward to that one?
I will actually not be at Daytona. I will be gone that day, gonna be spending 4th of July week out of town. So in some ways I can be happy about that. I will lose out on some points, but I can miss the question mark that is Daytona. So for me, I'm really excited to get back the next week, which at Kentucky, so a shorter track, which is something that I like, with New Hampshire following that. So I'm excited to get back to that and get back to racing with these guys when that time comes, but can almost dodge the bullet that could be Daytona.
Yeah, absolutely. That's how I feel too. So have fun on that weekend. Stay safe. But before we let you go, we know we got some shout-outs that you got some shout-outs, not we, that you want to give us. So let's hear them.
Yeah, well, you guys for the broadcast. I'm excited to watch that later, as always. And thank you guys for everything you do for this series. Everybody who is watching tonight, thank you guys. Everybody in the race for having a great race and really clean. Long green flag runs, really clean, good race. Jeff for putting it on, and then my cousin Kevin Vollmer, as always, for my paint scheme. I was able to keep the car clean and bring it home in one piece.
Awesome stuff, AJ. Well, thank you so much for talking with us. As always, congrats on finishing 2nd and starting there as well. But hope to talk again next week.
Thank you very much.
And that was your 2nd place finisher, AJ Digby. Let's go find the winner contender himself. And I got him right here. Tanner Sharp, winner chicken dinner himself. You got a copy?
Howdy. How's it going, guys?
All right, man. Well, not much to say about your race. You pretty much wiped the field clean, so we'll call you the janitor for tonight. But just kind of tell us about your race from start to finish, if anything went wrong or anything went right.
I can't say anything went wrong. The only couple of things I was a little worried about was when the 98 stayed out on old tires after like 30 laps, and they kind of put us in a little bit of a situation. But we decided, I was like, just got to calm down and be patient here. We'll get them, and that's what we did. And we ended up getting the lead on them long runs. And the other one was with the 99 when we had to split the 99 on the back straightaway. Or it's not really a straightaway, it's a little curved, but still called a back straightaway. And I thought I was going to get rammed into the wall, but Johnny did a good job holding his own, and that was a fun race. I was a little worried about them guys that actually, I don't know if they pitted. I assume they pitted because they eventually pitted. So I was worried about their little gamble stretch, man, and I almost had it. So hats off to them other boys. I think it was Alan Capers and Chris Roberge, and there was another guy, I think it was Fernando, that took a gamble. and they almost got it. So, but nonetheless, the main goal was whoever's in second place we had to beat, so we were keeping an eye on him to make sure when he pitted under the green flag pit stops, because once he pitted, we had to time our pit stop just right, and we did that, because if you don't time it just right, he'll gain so much time on you the longer you stay out. So we just had to time that, and we got out right in front of him, actually. So we were battling with him a little bit, but we had the fresher stickers by a couple laps, so, and we were able to pull away. So our patience really paid off tonight in the Shriners Hospital for Children / AMC Awareness Camaro Chevrolet. It was a real fast night, real fun night for us.
Yeah, I wanted to actually ask you about that. I know you were racing a bit of a special paint scheme for AMC Awareness, and this, of course, being a very special track to you. How about you kind of go into detail on that?
Yeah, you wear blue. It's basically all you do. You just wear like a shirt color. I did a live stream tonight on Facebook, so I'm wearing a shirt blue, even though it has no sponsorship on it. But yeah, arthrogryposis is a disability, a physical condition that I was born with, and every June they have AMC Awareness Month. June 30th is AMC Awareness Day, so we decided to put the AMC ribbons on the car. We've actually had it on the car all month long, but yeah, tonight was just a special because I was a former patient at the Shriners Hospital for Children in Chicago, and here we are in Joliet, Illinois at Chicagoland Speedway, so it's just very fitting to do the Shriners Hospital paint scheme along with the blue AMC ribbons to get the words out there. You know, if anybody wants to know what AMC is all about, you can go to www.amcsupport.org, or you can also just go to www.amcsupport.org to find out all the information on AMC, and you can also look up Shriners Hospital for Children. They do amazing things for children across the country. So, yeah, and now we go to our 4th of July paint scheme next week in Daytona.
Yeah, I was about to say, no better way to end out the month of June than to get a win, for your 4th in a row. So no hotter driver in the series right now, and I was going to ask you, how are you looking forward to next week at Daytona?
Daytona is one of my hot tracks, as many actually that you and Carlos know on the 3-wide racing side of things. I've had a lot of success at Daytona. Actually, it's the most. In all the leagues that I have participated in years past, Daytona is the most top 10, like scoring top 10s at that track than I've ever, I've always scored a crap load of top 10s there and a few wins. And it's just as far as SimPossible is just concerned, I only ran there twice and have an average finish of a 2nd place. So, and we actually won our Daytona race in the trucks, so that first truck season. So we know we're going to be competitive there. Are we going to win there? Maybe not, because it's different than your typical 1.5 mile or short track that we've been racing on lately. So it's a super speedway, so it's anybody's ball game. So yeah, really looking forward to Daytona. We got a special paint scheme for that. We're going to drive a camouflage.
You know that movie?
A camouflage National Guard paint scheme for 4th of July. So looking forward to Daytona next week with these boys. Great job by these guys tonight too, man. We had a long green flag runs. We put on a great, fantastic show. I know there's some news that Jeff's going to be announcing soon. So tonight was a very good performance night for the league.
Awesome stuff. Well, Tanner, thank you very much for talking with us. As usual, before we let you go, do you have any additional shout-outs you want to give?
Yeah, first and foremost, let's thank everybody who watches these live streams of the SimPossible Racing League on 3Wide TV, everybody that types in that chat. Shout out to all you guys, for coming on YouTube and going on 3Wide TV and watching us race. It means a lot for not just myself, but a lot of these guys who have some kind of disability condition and have other eyes watching them. That's a really cool deal. Jeff Schmidt, he's a league organizer. Thanks to him. Shriners Hospital for Children, AMC Awareness, Mountain Dew, National Guard, 3Wide TV, all you guys, family sport, the good Lord above. Thank you, everybody, for the opportunities that has been given, not just myself, but to everybody else here. Thank you.
All right, Tanner. Well, thank you very much for talking with us once again. Congrats on winning tonight, and congrats on a dominant performance, really. Hope to talk to you next week.
Definitely. Take care, guys.
All right. Well, I got the man himself. Jeff, I apologize for in your conversation about the movie, but I'm going to go ahead and ask you, how about that race tonight?
Oh, what an awesome race. You couldn't ask for anything better. Chicagoland under the lights for the first time in SimPossible racing history. And a lot, it's probably the first time for many, even seeing it on iRacing under the lights since it's been a new update. What an awesome race. The guys do an amazing job, and I always say that, but they really do. Awesome green flag runs, man. I can't. So I'm speechless. I really am. The guys always exceed my expectations, and they do such an amazing job of dealing with what they do. A lot of them have very severe disabilities, and they fight through them, and they race. And if just watching them, you would never know that they even had a disability. How awesome they are, man. I'm just super impressed. I'm super proud. I'm blessed to be able to do this and to be part of it. Just extremely proud of everyone.
Absolutely, and we're coming up on the halfway point of the B-Car Series. That was race 14 out of 33 done, so we're getting there in a long grind for everyone, but doing a good job of it. And it's actually pretty cool seeing how everybody will take that grind. And really, the trucks and the K&N Series both going well as well, both all very competitive, so I'd say it's all looking pretty well.
It is, man. It's awesome. It really is. I mean, I couldn't ask a whole lot more. Our main concern is that everyone has a good time and that everyone gets along. And those two things are pretty immediate, like they already happen. So we don't have to worry about that. The racing itself and the competition, that's just a plus. And so far the competition has been stout. You got the same guys kind of fighting for the lead a lot with the AJ Digby and Tanner Sharp and Kyle Zimmer. I mean, you got the fast guys. You also have a lot of guys that are learning from them, which is great. And I always tell the guys, if you have someone faster than you, then that's a good thing because you can learn from them. It kind of sucks sometimes to be the fastest guy on track. You can't really learn anything, and then now you're teaching everyone. So being the fastest is great sometimes, but in a sense, it's great to be a guy to be able to follow them and learn from them.
Absolutely, and definitely, as long as I've been broadcasting here, it's definitely been cool seeing the progression of everybody else as well as drivers, and you can definitely see that a lot of people are getting better, and like you said, you never know that most of them had a disability because it's just race cars, and race cars go around the track like race cars will.
Yeah, they surely don't show it. Not at all, man. They don't show it at all. You would never know unless you knew. Yeah, just an amazing job tonight. I'm super proud. I really am. Great green flag runs. I was wondering there for a little bit about fuel strategy, but I think they cut a little bit short. Some of those guys that were trying to save fuel, had they pitted a little bit later, they might have been able to do it and hold it. Whether they would hold off or not, that's another story. Those new shoes surely were fast, so it's always hard to tell. You can't always speculate, but great race, man.
Absolutely, and before we wrap this up, I do have to ask the question. I heard there was some news coming. Is that ready now, or is that going to be something we hear in a couple weeks? Okay.
Yeah. Nothing right now, but it's coming up and it's exciting, and I'm very excited for everyone. SimPossible Racing League has been a success since we started it. Thanks to you guys, really, to broadcast us from day one. You've been a major part of our success, and I couldn't thank you enough. I could literally sit here for an hour talking about how awesome you guys are. I hope you guys know it. I mean, man, Cameron, to be a one-man commentator sometimes, you do such an amazing job, man. You are spot on. You know the drivers now. You know what's going on. You really do an amazing job. Carlos with the camera angles and running the show. How awesome, man. Words can't be put into what I'm trying to say, and apparently words are hard.
Absolutely know that first-hand experience, but we would have nothing to talk about if it wasn't for the league either, so it's a kind of a symbiotic relationship.
Yeah, the words are hard thing, I took it from you, by the way.
Always having quotes up here in the booth. But Jeff, thank you very much. We know you got a bunch of shout outs you want to give, so let's hear them.
Absolutely. First and foremost, you guys up in the booth and broadcast the race for us. You do a tremendous job. Absolutely spectacular, man. It's always so much fun to watch after the race, or after the race is over, for the drivers to watch, and live for spectators watching. You guys really do put on a hell of a show. It's so amazing, man, and I'm so blessed that you guys have been there since day one. I think we're on race 56 or 57. So it's been a lot of time and a lot of effort that you guys have put into this thing since the beginning, and I couldn't thank you enough for it. I really couldn't. Thank you to the drivers. Without them, it wouldn't mean anything, and we do this for them. Thank you to their families to not only allow them to do this and help them to do it, but to be there by their side. Having a disability in the family is not an easy thing to deal with, and you know, as many may know, a lot of the drivers in this league have severe disabilities that they need caretakers and helpers in their day-to-day activities and life. So thank you so much for everyone that helps out the drivers and makes it possible for them to come out and race and put on a show for us, man. Thank you to everyone watching on YouTube. Without you guys, it wouldn't mean as much either. You know, having viewers is awesome, man. Shout out to Wesley for always being there. He's been there for a long time. I know he's a Alan Capers fan, and he's been there for a while watching us and commenting on the YouTube. So, man, thank you, Wesley, for always sticking around. You know, if anyone knows of a driver that has a disability that would like to join us on track, come to SimPossibleRacing.com, our website, and there's a driver sign-up form. It's very simple. You just fill out a couple questions and what number you would like, etc., and we'll have you out racing with us, man. If everything's legitimate, we'll have you racing out there with us. And you know, everyone gets along so great. It's such an amazing group of guys. It really is. I couldn't ask for anything better. And I look forward to every Monday and Wednesday just as much as the drivers do. We have a great time together. Yeah, thank you guys. We're having a lot of fun, and the racing shows it for sure.
Awesome stuff, as always, each and every week. We enjoy watching these as well, but we're going to go ahead and wrap up this broadcast. So, Carlos, cue up those results if you can. We're good. Getting those results, and Tanner Sharp coming home with the win tonight. Started in the 4th position, getting that win. That's his 4th in the row, so all those numbers lining up pretty well. AJ Digby coming home 2nd. Dave Wilson 3rd. Kyle Zimmer 4th. Nick Cotillo rounding out the top 5. Fernando Matos, first car, 1 lap down in 6th. Tom Johnson 7th. Christopher 8th. Brian Lilhead 9th. Alan Keepers 10th. Billy Wise 11th. Johnny Barodi 12th. Mark Dingman, Matthew Lazuski, and Travis Zuderman all retiring before the night was over. So shame to see that, but that is your Chicagoland race run and done and complete and everything. Race number 14 over with. But a couple more shout outs from us at 3 Wide TV. Want to echo what Jeff said. Yeah, words are hard about the viewers. Of course, for us 3 Wide TV, it makes us want to do what we do and all that stuff. And you know, we love the viewers, we love the chatters. Everybody who watches the live broadcast as well as the replays. That's awesome. Hope you like what you see, and definitely like and subscribe and all that good stuff that people say. I want to thank SimTV for the cameras that allow us to show you these angles each and every week. Carlos does a good job with those things and allows us to show you some really cool racing action. Thomas Morris for those graphics that you see. Very pretty and very good looking, so big thanks to him. But that's all we got for you guys tonight. So I think we're going to go ahead and sign off on this one. So all you guys, stay awesome and have a good night.